Steve? Is Steve gonna recognize tonight that it is 9/11? Y'all look nice. I don't know why they got my picture all smeared on that camera.
Shaking their heads. Good evening. Welcome to the September 11, 2017 Valley View School Board meeting. I would ask Vice President to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ask everyone to stand up. And following the Pledge of Allegiance, I would ask everyone to rise in a moment of silence and recognize September 11th, a day that will live in infamy in the United States of America. 3,000 people lost their life that day. Several hundred first responders, firefighters, police officers, security officers. And I would also like to ask everyone to say a prayer, think a moment of reflection for all the first responders that are currently down in Texas and Florida and other states now, protecting citizens of the United States. There are millions of people who are out of their home. We are very fortunate to be where we are in the situation that we are in, and those that are not deserve our, at our very least, our condolences and our thoughts and prayers. So thank you. Beck?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Board affirmation statement. Who may have that up on their computer currently? Ms. Perro, if you would.
Our mission is to empower all learners to be college and career ready and to develop, grow, and achieve as productive citizens.
Agenda.
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to ask that the board approve the agenda as presented.
Motion?
So moved.
Motion and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. Mr. Guzaffi, Treasurer's Report.
Looking for approval tonight of Treasurer's Action Report 5.1, including the usual monthly reports, along with the interim obligation payments totaling $5,597,482.68.
Motion? We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none. Roll call vote, please.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Gilbo?
Yes.
Member Perro?
Yes.
Member Badouris?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
Vice President Zach?
Yes.
President Quigley?
Yes.
Treasurer's Action Report 5.2 is the schedule of bills for the month of September. We've got 6 funds representing $5,789,596.23 of expenditures for your consideration and action.
Motion?
So moved.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none. Roll call vote, please.
Member Gilbo?
It's been a while. Yes.
Member Perro?
Yes.
Member Badouris?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
Vice President Zach?
Yes.
President Quigley?
Yes.
For your information is the Treasurer's Information Report 5.3, Summary of Investments for August, Property Taxes Received 5.4 for August. 5.5 is the State Funding Update through August, and 5.6 is the All Schools Trust Account Activity through July. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions? Gary, I noticed the school fund again, 30 to 60 days. That's typical in a turnaround from the state of Illinois. Once we start getting into the 90-day issues, that becomes problematic, and we go beyond that. But the 3.9 million, so $4 million, with a total of 5.4. Do you know anything about those dates that are out there? The 336,000. Is that transportation?
No, I believe the bulk of that is state free lunch and breakfast as well as bilingual.
With the passage of the state budget, do we have any idea if that money will be caught up in the near future?
Yeah, good question. It seems the current year funds are starting to flow. We received a payment yesterday, and it looks like we're going to receive our twice monthly payments for the current year. I know there was a big borrowing bill that will hopefully allow the state to catch up on overdue bills, but there's been nothing specific related to school districts in terms of dollars owed, particularly when you look at the days outstanding, almost 240 days. So I'm hopeful that they'll clear the decks and pay those. We keep our eye on the big numbers, the $4 million, but when you add up those small guys, you're looking at still $750,000 that is due and owed.
Thank you. Moving down the agenda, board minutes. Motion to approve would be in order. Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Mitchum, consent agenda.
Okay.
It's been a while for me.
It's okay, Mr. Quigley. I'd like to ask the board to approve consent agenda items 6.1 through 6.11. 6.1 board meeting minutes for 8/28/17. 6.2 executive session meeting minutes for 8/28/17. 6.3 gifts for A. Vito Martinez Middle School. 6.4 student activity contract approval request, Humphrey Middle School with Goodie Factory. 6.5 student activity contract approval request, Humphrey Middle School with Great American Fundraiser. 6.6 student activity contract approval request, J.R. Tibbet Elementary with Follett Book Fairs. 6.7 student activity contract approval request, J.R. Tibbet Elementary and Jane Addams Middle School with Scholastic Book Fairs. 6.8 resolution number 1595 tax appeal intervention approval. 6.9 memorandum of understanding between VNA Healthcare and Valley View School District 365U. 6.10 designation of depositories, and 6.11 agreement for internet itinerant services provided by the Cooperative Association for Special Education.
Second.
Motion seconded. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, seeing
I
none.
have a couple questions. On 6.8, the tax appeal intervention approval, will that cost the district any extra?
Yes, I mean, this resolution allows our attorneys to represent us in our property tax appeals. And so any time that they are acting on our behalf, that there would be a billing charge.
Okay, and that is if it's 100,000 or more, if somebody wants to check on their taxes,
Correct. There's a requirement that the district is notified when any sort of assessment appeal greater than 100,000, we're notified. We send those notices on to our attorney. They'll typically, the first step would be to talk to the assessor to see if there's any reason for intervention prior to them just intervening blanketly. A lot of times the assessor will say, no, I'm in a good spot here. We've got appraisals that will support my assessment. Other times they will ask, especially if it's could be a couple $1 million of assessment change that a company or property owner is challenging. We have not intervened in many cases, but there have been a few, and again, there would be a charge.
Okay, on section 4 of that, it says, any policy or resolution of the school district which conflicts with the provisions of this resolution shall be and is hereby repealed to the extent of such conflict. Does that mean any policies that we had in the past will be gone, will no longer be valid if we approve this? Section 4. And then I guess I'm just asking, you know, if I'm interpreting that correctly.
Yeah, I'd have to defer to the attorneys. This was their draft. I honestly don't know what that means. Stephanie, would you have any insight into that?
To me, it kind of looks like it overrides any other policy that we've had in the past. And that's kind of what I guess my question is. Yeah. Yeah, that's why I'm kind of concerned with our past policies, if we want to look at that first before we approve this, just to double check. Okay. Maybe we could take a look at that one and hold off on that one, do you think? I would recommend so. Okay. Okay. So maybe we'll take a look at, that's 6.8. Okay, my other question is on 6.9. This is the memorandum of understanding between the VNA Healthcare and Valley View School District, which I think is an awesome idea. But a part in that memorandum, it says that at the beginning of this deal that we have with VNA, which is the building, the health building that's right by Romeoville High School that was just built, that in the first 6 months, that there has to be monthly meetings with somebody from the district or RHS. I'm not sure, I guess that's my question. And then thereafter, quarterly meetings. And I was just wondering who the people from Valley View would be that would be responsible for having these meetings with the VNA.
Most likely it will be representatives from Romeoville High.
So it'll be somebody from Romeoville High School?
Yeah, I believe one of the assistant principals, Nicole Gizio, has been kind of the point person on this. We did have them look at this and review the contents of this memorandum.
Okay, so it would mostly be the administration, not any of the staff?
Again, I would defer to the principal to say who he feels would be the most effective person to be at that meeting, whether it be the nurse or, you know, the assistant principal, somebody like that.
Okay, I guess my biggest concern is it involved just like one person or a lot of people? Would they have that responsibility? That's kind of what I'm wondering. If anybody knows that.
I believe it's just a checkpoint meeting, but if your concern is whether or not there's district representation, I don't have an issue with having Susan be involved in those meetings as well.
Students also?
No, Susan from the district, who is our
okay.
nursing coordinator.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, and then on 6.11, 611, agreement for itinerant services provided by the Cooperative Association for Special Education. I guess I'm just asking here, what is our current situation on handling such things? The examples given in this one are vision, hearing, sign language, interpreter, orientation, and mobility. What is our current situation? Because I know with this that we're asking to have consent on, it's going to cost $3.50 per minute to use this company to provide this service. So I'm just wondering what currently we have in place to compare that to.
While Erica makes her way up to the podium there, my understanding, the reason for this agreement is that we've got a short-term medical leave and we've been unable to find coverage for one of our hearing itinerants. They're in very high demand, short supply, and so thus the need for this, this short-term agreement.
Hi. Yes, we did have an unexpected leave for one of our itinerant staff. For some of our specialized, or for some of our special education teachers, their certification is very specialized, and there is a very significant shortage across the state of Illinois. We had posted this position to try and fill the vacancy, and we were unable to find the vacancy. We did reach out to a representative to try and find a candidate to fill the vacancy for us, and she was unable to, so we had to reach out to other district cooperatives in order to contract with them. This is not uncommon because if we are unable to fill special education positions, we will regularly have to contract with either outside agencies or special education cooperatives to fill the positions because these are mandated services.
If we hire this person and use this person, do we still search for somebody else, or do we just pretty much stick with that person, or?
It depends on the length of the vacancy. If it is a position that we have allocated for, that we've been unable to fill that position, we will continue to look for them. In this instance, it is an FMLA vacancy, so it is short term. We have been in contact and received updates from the staff member who is out, and we are expecting her return at the end of the vacancy. So we will continue to potentially look, but we anticipate that she will be back very soon. Very short term,
Yeah,
yes.
November 30th.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion?
I believe we have to adjust the consent agenda items to remove 6.8.
Are we tabling 6.8?
Yeah, we're tabling 6.8.
So we need to adjust the amendment, the motion to reflect, so somebody want to make a motion to approve the consent agenda item?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda items 6.1 through 6.11, omitting 6.8.
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second. We have a motion, we have a second. Is there a motion now to remove the original agenda consent motion with the approval on the second? Do we need that?
I make a motion to remove the first motion to approve the second motion.
Thank you. We have a motion?
Second.
We have a second by Ms. Campbell. All those in favor of the first motion will vote. Oh, how do we do this? Go one, then two? Let's go with the first motion. Roll call vote, please.
Member Perro?
Yes.
Member Badouris?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Gilbo?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
Vice President Zach?
Yes.
President Quigley?
Yes. Now, towards the second motion, we need a roll call vote.
Member Badouris?
Yes.
Member Campbell? Member Gilbo?
Yes.
Member Perro?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
Vice President Zach?
Yes.
President Quigley?
Yes. Consent agenda items are taken care of. Student and staff recognition, do we have any this evening? I don't believe we do.
No report this evening.
Thank you. Liaison reports from my left. Ms. Perro.
I just want to remind everyone that on Thursday, September 28th is the School Safety Conference that our district is hosting. People from around the state of Illinois, other school districts and so forth are coming to this conference. And our two keynote speakers are going to be quite interesting. One is a woman named Michelle Gay. She's a mother who lost a first grader in the Sandy Hook tragedy, and she's co-founder of an organization called Safe and Sound Schools. So she's one of the keynote speakers. The other keynote speaker is Dr. Stephen Schroka, and Gary has heard him speak, and he comes very highly regarded. He is author of The Power of One and the new RX for Education, Relationships, Keeping Kids Safe and Healthy in a Toxic Society. So we've got the two keynotes and a plethora of breakout session speakers, so it should be a really good day.
Thank you. Mr. Brown is in the back. I'm sure you'll be having a lot to do with that meeting. In the past, we've had several hundred attendees from throughout the Midwest. Is that correct, Leroy? Thank you. It really, honestly, when these first came out several years ago, it put this district in a light, not just in the region that we live in, but literally in the Midwest and maybe around the country, once the word got out about what we do and how we do it when it comes to security, safety, those issues. And Leroy, I know, was the foundation of how that got started and should be commended. And I want to thank you because I'm going to tell you, I've talked to superintendents and principals from, you know, run into people at various places throughout the Midwest, and they still talk about those first 2 or 3 conferences that we had and how successful and how it led them to the next level of what they wanted to do. So thank you. From my right, any board reports, liaisons? I alluded to the state of Illinois finally passing education funding. It was very contentious, has been for quite some time. Last year they passed a budget. It was essentially a continuation of what they normally do. The pro rata, they tell us they're going to give us X, and then when X isn't available, they give us Y. And I don't mean just us, I mean education in general. Guys like Gary gnash their teeth and chew their nails when they find out that we're going to get, what was it last year, 85%?
I think it was closer to 79.
79%? 79% of what you thought you were going to get and you end up getting. Well, in a district our size, that can account to several $1 million. We are fortunate that Gary hedges on the side of the state coming up short. Fortunately, in this budget that they passed for education, it was tied to some education funding that was actually in the budget that the state passed, and we will hopefully get caught back up on the money that the state owes us. Whether you agree with the formula or don't agree with the formula, the one thing that is in the formula is stability for districts like ours. There's a hold harmless cause for school districts throughout the state, meaning you won't get any less today than next year than you get today or the year after or the year after. There are districts who will not get as much if there's a possibility of an increase for them. There are all kinds of components to the bill. If you, the key to it is, though, the pro rata will end, and that there is a section in there that addresses that, and that we're guessing we'll get maybe $1.5 million more, maybe a little less, depending on how it all shakes out. Gary and I, when we talked about the state funding just a few minutes ago, state passed what they call a BIMP bill, which is the Budget Implementation Bill, along with the budget. And in the BIMP bill, they gave the governor the authority to go out and bond up to $6 billion worth of short-term debt to pay back the backlog of bills. At the year's end in June, there was $14.5 billion in unpaid backlog of bills. Why we care as taxpayers is because after 90 days, every dollar that the state of Illinois does not pay its vendors, and we could consider ourselves a vendor, but we're not. They don't see us that way. But anybody that provides a service on behalf of the state of Illinois is allowed to collect a 1% per month interest rate. Doesn't sound like much. Well, it's 12% per year. It's a pretty good interest rate. If you're in a business that can hold on long enough and the state owes you substantial money, it can amount to millions of dollars. So the state of Illinois, because of the budget drag out for 2 years, somewhere in, I believe it's $150 to $180 million of interest that's being paid to vendors. We're talking about people who build roads, provide services to prisons, to whatever it is. They could be selling paper clips, but if they're not paid in a timely fashion, they are entitled to 1% per month interest. And I don't think they have to do anything to ask for that. They may have to fill out a simple form. But it's a substantial amount of money. And I know that there's not a school district in the state that wouldn't like to have seen that $180 million put into an education fund or put into some other projects that need to be done. So the importance of passing a budget is that in particular, but where it comes to education, hopefully they will catch up on the, and we're not the only district in this situation by far, but hopefully they will catch up with paying some of these backlog of bills down. And I was told in the discussions of all this that at some point a $5 billion backlog for the state of Illinois is not terribly uncommon because of the size of their budget and how the monies come in and how they roll that money through the process. So borrowing $3-4 billion is not a big deal. $6 billion is a little high. They have 12 years to pay it back, and they have to pay an exact amount back plus interest at every, well, once every 12 months, or maybe it's quarterly. I don't know how they do it through the process. But they will borrow that $6 billion, and they will pay it back in 12 years. So we will get caught up hopefully sooner than later, as will other districts and other entities that are owed their monies from the state of Illinois, and then hopefully go merrily along our way. But we now have some stability to resolve the inequity in funding that's been going on in this state. And this is not new. This is something that's been being discussed since the 1980s. But they've at least addressed some of it. Is it completely fair to all districts? I would say no. Is it completely great for all districts? I would say no. But at least it's a step in the right direction. And anybody knows that any legislation that passes in Springfield over time, it's never always soup. There's always something to be added later. So this will be tweaked over the years, but I think we're in a good position right now for our district to receive funding based on our needs in this in the students that we provide service for, and the families in the community that we provide service for. I think this is a fairer methodology for us. Again, this doesn't apply to districts that might be next door or a couple districts over, but for this district, I think it was a fair deal. And I had the privilege of being asked by Senator Menard probably 5 years ago. I think, Gary, were you part of those conversations? We went to the governor's chief of staff, and we sat down and we discussed with them what we thought was a fair process and how we wanted to be held harmless. And I'm not so sure some of those very conversations we had didn't end up in this process and end up a part of how this got resolved. I mean, Gary, he was bringing in the technical expertise to this, and I was trying to bring the 10,000-foot view of what I thought our community would accept and what we couldn't accept. And they were putting this into a giant blender, trying to figure out, what the other 800 school districts in the state, how they would be affected. So they did their job, whether you like it or not, but at least they did something to help education across the board. Is it great? I don't know, but it's better than what we had. So that's my 2 cents worth on that. Moving down the agenda, audience participation. Is anybody in the audience who wishes to address the board this evening? Seeing no one. Action reports. Dr. Mitchum?
No report.
Ms. Kinder?
No report.
Thank you. Mr. Grizafi? Thank you. Ms. Hawks?
Thank you, President Quigley. Action Report 13.1 this evening is the Consolidated Action Report for Certified and Classified Personnel. We're seeking your approval on 26 items for certified personnel, 64 items for classified personnel, and 1 certified administrative personnel item.
Motion?
Second.
Motion and second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none. Roll call vote, please.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Badouris?
Yes.
Member Peril?
Yes.
Member Gilbo?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
Vice President Zach?
Yes.
President Quigley.
Yes.
Before I move on to the next action item, Justin, if you could stand. The board has just approved in the Consolidated Action Report the administration's recommendation to hire Mr. Justin Ipama as the interim assistant principal at Independence Elementary School. He has 10+ years of teaching experience and also holds various leadership positions, including 1 year of assistant principalship. We're excited to welcome Mr. Ipama to the Independence team. Congratulations, Justin.
You'll be working with a good mentor. Go ahead.
My second action report this evening is 13.2, and we recommend the board's approval of the proposed job descriptions for secretaries. They were brought to your review as an information report at the August 28th meeting.
So move.
Motion. Need a second? Oh, somebody second. All right, thank you. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Member Peril?
Yes.
Member Gilbo?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Badouris?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
Vice President Zach?
Yes.
President Quigley.
Yes.
And my final action report this evening is 13.3, resolution number 1596, seeking the board's approval to authorize the dismissal of educational support personnel employees for reasons other than reduction in force.
So move.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Member Gilbo?
Yes.
Member Peril?
Yes.
Member Badouris?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
Vice President Zach?
Yes.
President Quigley.
Yes. Moving down the agenda, Superintendent's Information Report.
No report.
Thank you. Legal Services Report.
I have no report, Mr. President.
AFT Report. Valley View Council Report. Office Personnel Council Report. Apparently no reports on all 3 of those. Old business before the board this evening. New business before the board this evening. Questions from the public on actions we have taken. Seeing none, hearing none. Any announcements by the board from my left?
I'd like to say something. I'm going to read it because I might get a little emotional. So, I want to thank all of the board members, administration, teachers, staff, students, community members for all the overwhelming amount of flowers, cards, donations, thoughts, prayers, and condolences sent for myself and my family regarding the sudden passing of my brother, Dan Clemens. He loved the school district and the community so very much. Thank you.
I'd just like to mention the Knights of Columbus will be out from St. Andrews on the corners with their Tootsie Dough Drive. So please give them some money because they do give back to the whole school district.
It's my understanding the Knights of Columbus in Romeoville at St. Andrews are hosting a chili cook-off. I threw in $50 to be a sponsor of a team, and the gentleman that's in charge of it was trying to get some folks from Valley View Culinary Arts, i.e. our kitchen help, to put a team together. He was not able to do that. He's still searching, I think. And if you are interested in cooking chili, your fee has been paid for. And if on the outside chance that we would win, I would ask that you commit that winnings to a charity of choice or one of the school programs or something. So if anybody wants to do that, get a hold of me. And if you think your chili is better than somebody else's, I would do it because I know mine is, but I'm unable to make it that weekend. So, and I think you have to cook 3 pounds of chili. So basically a big crock pot full is probably 3 pounds, and put it in there. But if you're interested, get a hold of me and I'll send an email to Mark Camden and see what we can do. And if you're a chili consumer, then you might want to go to the chili cook-off. and see what they have to offer. I'm sure they'll have 15, 20, maybe even 30 contestants or groups of contestants. So
When is that?
I don't have the date in front of me, but I know it's towards the end of the month.
Okay.
So, do you know the date by chance? Yeah. Anyone else? Let's see. Any announcements by the administration?
I have one. Valley View School District, in partnership with Plainfield School District, is holding our annual Community Resource Fair. It's this Wednesday, September 13th, from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. The location is Plainfield East High School, which is located at 12001 South Naperville Road in Plainfield. This is a tremendous opportunity with countless community partners coming in to provide all types of resource and assistance for all of our community, including college assistance, employment assistance, financial resources, family recreation, mental health services, bilingual services, and the list goes on. So please come out and visit us Wednesday evening at 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Plainfield East High School.
Thank you. Any other announcements by the administration? Any announcements from the public? Motion to adjourn would be in order.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. We stand adjourned. Have a safe evening. And for Principal Pascavige's sake, go Broncos.